Hello, everybody. I want to talk to you about the year 1918. I want to talk about what it was like to be alive 100 years ago, if you're a 9 or 10-year-old boy or girl. What kind of things did they experience? The reason I picked 1918 of all the years I want you to think about is because I think a lot of what happened in 1918 is very similar to what's happening in 2020. A lot of what young people your age experienced 100 years ago is pretty similar to what you're experiencing right now. I want you to think about the word perspective, and I want you to put things in perspective. And what I mean by that is I want you to look at what's happened and look at what's happening, and I want you to look at it from a different point of view. The word perspective means point of view, and I want you to put yourself in someone else's place and look at what happened to them, what's happening to you, how did they handle it, and what can you do about it? So let's start off by trying to understand what it was like back in 1918. And what better way to do it than to look at toys? Back in 1918, here's just some of the toys that people would have played with. If you like to play with dolls, well, on the left you got a wooden doll. How many of you would trade in the dolls that you play with today for the wooden dolls back of 1918? Now, they had stuffed animals and they had teddy bears and they had other types of dolls, but this is one example of the dolls that they played with. Some of you like to play with cars. Maybe you have Matchbox cars. Maybe you have remote control cars. Well, here's the kind of car you would have played with back in 1918 if you would have wanted to play with cars. And then you have Lincoln Logs. You could still buy Lincoln Logs today. I had Lincoln Logs when I was growing up. Now, I'm not from 1918. I'm old, but I'm not that old. And Lincoln Logs were just what they look like in that picture. You build little forts, you can build a log cabin, you could pretend you're living out west, and it was just a way to build things out of these pre-built logs and try to put yourself in a different kind of world. Well, if you don't want to stay inside all the time, how about going outside? Here's what kids did for fun back in 1918. A lot of you like to ride a bike. There's a bike. Like to go swimming, maybe you got a pool, maybe you get to go to the lake, maybe you used to go to the Slinger Pond, you used to go swimming. And then on the bottom you can see the playground. Look at that playground. Look at those swing sets. Look at that climbing on that. I don't think Slinger Elementary School is ever going to build a swing set or a playground like that. That is way too tall, way too dangerous. But I guess back in 1918, that's what you did for fun. Lastly, you got inside stuff in terms of family activities. You could play board games together. You could play dominoes together. You could play cards together. Dominoes, you can stack them all up and knock them down, make a big kind of row, or you can play the game where you match the numbers up. Tiddlywinks is what I have pictured right here, and it's a game I've never played, but I've heard of it. You take a squidger and you try to flip the winks into a pot. Now, I don't know if that sounds fun to you, but it was fun to kids your age back in 1918. And lastly, there's baseball. A lot of you like to play baseball. You like to watch baseball. You play softball. It's a very, very popular sport, obviously, today. Well, back in 1918, it was a popular sport, too, for adults and kids alike. And I think we'll get baseball back here sometime soon. But 1918 had a lot of baseball, a lot of famous baseball players, and it was a very popular sport. So what I want you to think about when you complete the rest of these activities is your perspective. What is your perspective of your point of view of what happened to kids your age in 1918, but also what's your perspective on what's going on today? How do you see what's happening with the coronavirus and all the different things associated with it? How do you see those things? But more importantly, think about the same topics from a different perspective. Think about the same topics from someone else's point of view. Some other kid the same age as you. Maybe one of your friends. Maybe an older brother or sister. Think about their perspective or their point of view. If you look at this little image in the middle, for the person on the left, that's a 6. For the person on the right, it looks like a 9. Well, it's the exact same thing. How can it be different? It just depends on where you're standing. So I want you to think about everything that's going on from different perspectives, from different point of views. Not just yourself, but what other people are thinking and how other people see what's happening. So here's the goals for the activities that I've got for you. All right, think about how you feel with what's going on. But think about how other people feel or how other people felt. I love teaching history because I love imagining what it's like to be in a time period from 100 years ago. What were they thinking? What were they doing? How were they feeling? I also want you to understand different perspectives. I want you to understand how to look at things from a different point of view. Not different things, but the same thing from different points of view. And lastly, if you're paying attention and you do a couple little things, there's a code that you could try to break at the end. You're all pretty smart. I think you'll figure it out. But hopefully you can take the time and answer the questions and solve the mystery code. So let's get started.